One Piece chapter 1111 is amazing. Another incredible chapter. Oda has been giving us incredible chapter after incredible chapter, and he has not stopped. Last chapter, we got to see the 5 elders' true forms, each of their forms, and once they arrived on scene, instantly they went into action. Destruction, absolute chaos, horrifying force. And now, that just continues. This chapter opening up with the uncanny bird bursting through the barrier that is really strong, and we've made super clear up to this point, bursting through the barrier just to continue to wreak havoc. I love the way he has depicted the 5 elders. I love that in this particular chapter, we have the fear, we have the feeling of this is insurmountable, this is chaos, what are we supposed to do next? While also giving us so much humor. Oh my goodness, amazing. We have a lot to talk about. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. Factor provides fresh, never frozen meals that are chef crafted, dietitian approved, and can be ready in just 2 minutes. There's a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Plus there's 60 add-ons every week like breakfast or on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. I've told you this before, and I'll keep telling you, I love Factor so much because they are perfect for a quick, easy, delicious lunch that doesn't stop me as I'm working. 2 minutes in the microwave, or I cook mine in the oven, which is 7 minutes, and then the meal is ready and done. And I mean it when I say I have not had a single dud meal from them. Their meals are always so packed with flavor, so delicious, and so much better for me than anything else I could whip together in a couple of minutes, which is what I typically do for a lunch break. Plus, Factor is tailored to your schedule. You can customize your weekly meals with the flexibility to get as much or as little as you need, pause or reschedule deliveries to suit your lifestyle. So head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code MurphyNapier50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next box. That's the code MurphyNapier50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. Thank you again, Factor, for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you for checking them out. The fact that Jinbei sees the eerie bird coming in through the barrier and says, "What is that thing?" and immediately is like, "Zoro, we have to quit messing around. We have to get out of here now." The fact that Jinbei has so much fear when he's been up against huge opponents, incredibly strong opponents, and hasn't really flinched, but today he's freaking out, but today he means business, says a lot to me. Now, we're starting off the chapter on my one complaint, and it's the same thing that I complained about last week. I just don't really like what Oda's done here with Zoro and Lucci personally. I think that it could have been good. It's not uncommon for Oda to sideline a character that he just needs out of the way for a little while until he's ready to give them the attention that the story needs from them again. He's doing it right now with Robin by having her just knocked out for some reason. She's passed out because she's passed out, and she has been for chapters, and we haven't checked on her, and it's fine. The point is she's sidelined. And it's never what I think is Oda's strongest suit, but in this case particularly, I honestly just think it makes Zoro look a little bit weaker than he actually, I think, is meant to. I could be off base. Him fighting for so long, just mucking about, not having his bandana on, not having three sword style out. Then he hears Sanji basically calling him dead weight. I don't remember the exact line, but it was something like that. So finally he gets out his three swords and then he one-shots Lucci, but Lucci still stands. And then Zoro's like, well, I gotta finish this then. Well, I assume that would be what he would want to say. And this is essentially Zoro's Marine Ford. I say that lightly, I say that jokingly. But it's funny to me that Jinbei has to chokehold him and drag him out of there. Like he had to drag Luffy out of there when he saw Ace's death. Here, Lucci, who is an intense foe. He is someone that we should be worried about. But also, why Why wasn't Zoro fighting full force from the start? You know where we are. You know what's going on. Like, you may not know that all 5 Gorosei are here right now. You may not know that all 5 of the 5 elders are here right now, but you know what's going on right now. So, like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Zoro? It either makes him look weak or it makes him look like he isn't taking things seriously. And either way, I haven't loved this part of it. Please don't get mad at me, but I haven't. Anyway, look at the eerie bird coming in on Lucci like this. You can see him in the sky. You can see how he's taking up the entire skyline. We can see the trees that are surrounding him that are small in comparison. We can see Lucci on the ground, a speck near compared to Eri. Can you imagine having just been beat bloody and you know who you work for? You've heard them say insects a dozen times up to this point. You know that they don't value human life. And now one of them, in this form, is blotting out the sky, covering up so much space, looking down on you saying, "Where's York?" Can you imagine this is your boss? Like, who are you working for? What are you doing, man? So he delivers all the information, gets a pat on the back, and then he says, okay, my partner, Kaku, he's injured, he's in the area that you're about to go and infiltrate. Please keep him safe. Now, 2 things. 1, it's cool to see some humanity out of Lucci. It's cool to see that he genuinely cares about Kaku and he wants to plead for his life. But 2, it's kind of stupid. Like, it's not stupid, it's sweet, but it's a little bit like futile, you know? Like, you know who you work for. Again, you know who you work for. They couldn't care less, and you know it. And I mean, it's worth asking. It's worth hoping that you might have, that you might see a little bit of mercy out of these merciless beings. But let's be real, they don't care. And it's proven with the reply. That may not be possible. This is him saying, please spare his life. That may not be possible. One does not attempt to step on insects. It simply happens. Okay, don't hate me for this, but the Gorosei have the best lines. Like, I know they're bad. I agree with you. We're on the same page. But actually, they are never not delivering amazing one-liners. Like, I'm still Team Joy Boy. I'm still Team Sun God Nika. But, like, they have all the best lines. I'm just saying. Oh my goodness. And they have really cool designs too. I'm not Team Elders, but I mean, they're cool. I love seeing Luffy with the Giants. I love his joy, their joy, his smile next to theirs, his energy next to theirs. I love their excitement to see each other again. What are you doing here? Why are you dressed like our god? What's happening here? Like, whoa, how'd you even know to come find me? It's like their excitement for each other is so wholesome. And I also adore that you have a giant demonic spider and a giant demonic boar squared up next to you, and your response is, huh, those look like those things we hunt in our forest. That is okay. So the elders and the giants have the best lines, because you're looking in the face of a giant demonic being, and you're like, I hunt things like that. Like, that's so Cool. Then Luffy too, when this is a page or 2 away, when they're like, who is that anyway? Like, who is that guy? And Luffy, where is his line? Some bossy guy. They asked, who is that guy? And he responds, some bossy guy in the world government. Not some demonic being that materialized in front of me from a summoning circle. Not these guys that are wiping out entire groups of people. Not these guys that have been oppressing entire groups of people. Some bossy guy from the world government. It's so belittling. So, okay. So they all have really good lines. Anyway, Sanji is working so hard in this arc between carrying Vegapunk around. I still don't think he knows that Vegapunk is dead, but carrying him around, trying to keep him safe, trying to organize the crew and get them in positions that they need to be in, checking in on everyone. Have you gotten Zoro? Do you have this handled? Where's this person? Delivering information. He is being the strategizer. He's the one that's holding everything together at the moment, really. Kind of reminds me of Enies Lobby, where it's chaos. I mean, it's absolute chaos. Everything's happening all around them. Things are moving so fast. It's one thing after another, and they're all just scrambling to stay alive and to get out of there. And all this time, Sanji is thinking 3 steps ahead. All this time, Sanji is thinking about the strategy of it all, and he's thinking about the little details that can make their escape possible. And I feel like that's one of the things I remember telling my friend when he was reading One Piece for the first time, and Sanji was starting to grate on him, and I told him, just watch Sanji when he's quiet. When he's loud, he can be obnoxious, but when he's quiet, watch him, because that's usually when he's strategizing, when he's planning, when he's trying to figure out how to save everybody. And this has definitely been a high arc for Sanji, especially the last few chapters, where he's making sure that they can get out of here in the chaos, in the firestorm, when these giant beasts are slicing through the air, slicing through defenses, raising the stakes so high, when there's giants, when there's Luffy, when people are dying, when all this chaos is happening, Sanji's mind is calming and he's getting things organized and making sure that everybody's gonna get out okay. Like, it's just, love it. I also love this little map that we get of where everybody is, and I love that Oda wrote "goal" on the Elbaf ship, so it's super clear how we're trying to get off this island, what our escape route is, what we're going for. And I forgot to mention, the reason I went on that Sanji tangent is because when the Giants got to Luffy, they said, "We're already aware we saw Sanji earlier. He said to tell Luffy to turn around to the back of the island," and then it shows that their escape route. So Sanji's organizing it all. It's great. The action of this chapter is incredible too, with the boar coming and Workery. Do you guys care if I'm calling them by what their mythical form, not mythical forms, their yokai forms are, as opposed to their elder status? I'm just calling them by their yokais, because I think that they truly are yokai. I don't think that they've eaten devil fruits that transform them into yokai. I think they are yokai that can take human form. So the warthog, or the boar, he's coming rushing in and screaming at them with such strong haki that it reverberates all throughout the island, to the point that I would think that if anyone other than Luffy were standing just there, and the Giants, if any other human were standing just there, they probably would have been ripped to bits. Like, that's the way I'm interpreting what Dory and Bragi said to Luffy after he got blown to bits, where they were like, "You all right, Straw Hat? Got enough parts there? What a funny body you've got." I think they said that because if it were anyone else, then the body parts wouldn't have stayed on. Lucky for Luffy, most body parts stayed intact, but his eyeballs did get blown off, as well as his scars. Honestly, this is probably my favorite gag in a while, like in a long while. Probably it's in my top 5 favorite gags of the entire anime, manga. When I first read this, I couldn't stop laughing. First of all, the initial everything blowing off of him and the look on his face, even without his eyes, with all that blowing off of him. And then Dory or Bragi, one of the Giants standing there staring with his eyes wide, watching it all fly off of Luffy. It's so funny. And then a couple panels later, Luffy putting his scar back on his chest, holding his little under eye scar in his fingers while he's pasting this one back on his chest. Like, it's so stupid, and I love it so much. I also love that when this boar starts charging them, that Dory and Broggy's response to this is just, Broggy, ready. And then they put their shields up against the boar yokai, stop him, and push him back. Oh, it's so cool. I also love that the boar yokai can turn his tusks into swords. So we know that he has 4 tusks, we can see them, and then we can see that the front 2 are swords. Now, this is actually something that we had a bit of a debate on, which I stream my chapter reactions on my Patreon, and my patrons were arguing with me that these swords are independent of the tusks. And the tusks, there's still 4 tusks there, and the swords just like came out of his mouth. I don't think that's the case, because if you turn to the next panel where they're not shielding, after they've pushed him back, you can see the 2 swords are in the exact place of the face where the front tusks are, and you can only see one other set of tusks behind it. So I'm convinced that he can just turn his tusks into swords. You tell me, how do you interpret this scene? Either way, Dory and Broggy are looking amazing in this chapter, pushing him back, not harming him so badly, not killing him, that would be ridiculous, but pushing him back was awesome. Then, it's so hard to say what the best part of the chapter is, because the eerie bird flying in over Lucci was freaky. And then Luffy having his scars blown off of him and his eyeballs blown off of him and then trying to paste them back on was too funny. But then we have the baseball bat gag. So Saturn, Spider, Onioshi is spitting out the poisonous balls, and Luffy is like, watch out, that's poison, thinking that's all it is. So he just, in a split second, he rips up a tree, bites it down into a baseball-like pattern, paints it, writes a 56 on there, gets a helmet on, and then strikes, all in the time that it's taken for these poison darts to shoot at them, which actually turned out to be giant explosives. I love it. I love the timing of it. I love the ridiculousness, the cartoonishness of it. I love this gag. I love just seeing the paintbrush right there, and he's like, ta-da! Like, he's so proud of his baseball bat that he made in no time flat. And then his shock at the giant explosions that came. Oh my gosh. I just dropped my phone. This chapter is gold. It's actual gold. So then, from there, after the explosions, Luffy is his name, doesn't waste a second. And I love this too because we've seen Luffy's smile next to the giant's smile. We've seen his joy next to the giant's joy. We've just seen he matches the giant's demeanor so well, but not in this scene. In this scene, Broggy is still smiling, his full body smile, but Luffy looks so intense. He looks so fierce. Let's hurry. This won't matter. They're immortal. I love to see that Luffy, despite being in Gear 5th, despite the chaos that he's doing, despite the gags, that he's fully aware of who his opponents are, and he knows, okay, I have a second. I need to utilize that second because this isn't gonna matter. This isn't gonna do anything. We just have to run. And then seeing after that intense face on Luffy, which we never see in Gear 5th, and we have not seen in this entire chapter that's been full of life and joy and gags, we lock into the intensity, and then that's followed by the shadows coming up. That's just, Oda, that's brilliant writing to show us, to give us so much lightheartedness, to get us laughing in the midst of the chaos, laughing in the midst of the battle, feeling the joy of Joy Boy, and then snapping. After this big gag of the explosions, Luffy's eyes popping out, him going, what? That was explosive? And then immediately Luffy snaps into, we've got to go. We need to move. This isn't going to matter. We have to take advantage of this tiny little opportunity. It reminds us of the intensity of the situation, the fact that it's Luffy that's being intense while his friends are still goofing around, and he's like, no, it's not time to goof around. We have to move. And that brings us into the intensity, and then the shadows come up. Like, Oda, that's so good. That's so good at shifting that emotion, at shifting that scene. He balances gags and joy and goofiness with intensity and fear and impact so well. Like, I don't know another author that does it like this. So Dory and Bragi keep running. They shout out to their comrades, we're on the move, we gotta get out of here. Everybody's communicating through their snail phones, we gotta go, look, here's the ship. We have vice admirals blocking the ship saying, we're not gonna let you go, which, by the way, kudos to them, because if I'm seeing giant demonic beasts covering the sky and slicing through things and exploding and it doing nothing to them, and I'm seeing this godlike creature that can create nothing out of something at the speed of something out of nothing at the speed of light, giants that can push back the demonic creatures that are immortal. If I'm seeing all this chaos happening within a matter of minutes, I'm not standing guard. Are you kidding me? No way am I standing in front of that boat. Like, there's no chance that I can do any damage in this fight. I just need to run away or like lie on the ground and play dead or something so that everybody will accept that I can't fight. So Eerie Bird shows up, comes in over York, and once again, thank you, York, for responding in a reasonable way. That's freaky. You should be freaking out. And then we have Kizaru. It says, Kizaru, show us your wounds. Let us help you. And he says, am I wounded? Yes, deeply wounded. Just let me rest. He is mourning what he's had to do. He's mourning the fact that he lost his friend. This isn't something he wanted. This is something that he chose, though. He participated in the death of a friend, and that's on him. And because just because he chose the wrong side doesn't mean that he's forsaken all humanity. So he's lying there mourning his friend, hurting over the situation that he's had to partake in. And I think it's important to show that humanity in him. He's not just a mustache twirling bad guy. He is someone who has agreed to side with evil, and he has to deal with the ramifications of that. So, will Kizaru change sides? Is that horse dead yet? I don't know. Maybe. And finally, the Iron Giant comes up. He's finally moving, saying, sorry, Joy Boy. Ah! What are we gonna do with the Iron Giant? So I am personally a fan of the Iron Giant, and Zunesha are members of Joy Boy's crew. We've seen the giant straw hat, so we can assume that maybe Joy Boy was a giant of sorts. Maybe he was a buccaneer, because buccaneers are quite large. Or maybe he was a giant, or maybe he was a different race that we haven't actually learned about yet. It could be many things, but it does seem like Joy Boy was surrounding himself with large beasts. And there's a lot of apologies going around too. We have everything going on with Zunesha, as well as Zunesha's enslavement. We have this apology. We have the apology from Joy Boy to Fishman Island. There's a lot going on here. I personally am in the camp of the apology is not being able to succeed in whatever happened at the Void Century. I assume Joy Boy was trying to side with the races that were being harmed, side with the ancient kingdom, and he failed to keep his promise to save them from the world government. And his crew, the Iron Giant and Zunesha, failed to help him, failed to keep him alive, failed to help him keep his promise. They all failed. And that's the apologies. That's my current running theory with all of this. I'm sure other people have said it too. I mean, it's certainly possible that it was a betrayal. It's certainly possible that it's a situation, especially because we cut back to Kizaru right before we cut to the Iron Giant, and that was pretty unnecessary. There really was no need to cut to Kizaru again in this chapter, but Oda chose to do it right before he cut to Iron Giant. So Oda loves his literary symmetry, and I love that he loves his literary symmetry. So it's certainly possible that that was him signaling to us that Kizaru, who betrayed his friend, we're kind of closing his story at the same time that we're opening up another character that betrayed his friend, being the Iron Giant that potentially betrayed Joy Boy. So that's also a possibility here. I'm always kind of looking for how Oda does his entrances, because a lot of times when he does an entrance, he's saying something with the entrance that we don't see until we have a little bit more context. So that's certainly a possibility as well. Anyway, I loved this chapter. 10 out of 10. Incredible. Amazing. Oda's just delivering incredible chapter after incredible chapter lately. And then he goes on a break, which good for him. He deserves it. He delivers so much to us. He should also get some sleep. But I would love to hear what you think. What did you think of the chapter? How did you like it? What's something that you want to discuss that I didn't discuss? I'll see you again soon. Bye.